Sound speeds, and welcome to the second of two product reviews I've agreed to do for Tonor microphones. And before we get going, let me start with a full disclosure. I was sent this product for free, but before I agreed to do the review, I did make the representative I spoke to agree to my terms, and that is that I will do a fair and unbiased review of the product, regardless of the fact that they're sending it to me for free and I get to keep it, and neither me or my review will be influenced or bought in any way by the company. Therefore, you can expect this to be an honest review. In case you're interested, the first review I did for a Tonor microphone can be viewed right there, and check that out if you have any interest in a wireless handheld microphone. But the product that we're reviewing today is a headset mic, and on Amazon it's listed as the Tonor wireless microphone UHF PA headset mic, 10-channel, rechargeable with receiver for voice amplifier, audio sound system, external speaker, DSLR camera, etc. And at the time of this review, it is listed with a for sale price of $36.99. Consistent with the hand mic they sent me, this headset mic arrived in completely unbranded, in every possible way box, with exception of a sticker on top that reads Tonor new headset mic new. That barcode does not correspond to anything when you search it on Google, nor does the model number, the K380R model. Now, although I was unable to find this on any of the websites I'm familiar with that sells Chinese products, those websites do not make model numbers that easily searchable anymore because they're probably on to people like me that look these products up on those OEM websites. So although it's unconfirmed because I have not found this exact model on there, it is my sneaking suspicion it is probably an OEM product, but don't take my word for that because that is completely unconfirmed. Inside the box, you'll find 6 things. The first is the headset microphone itself, which transmits via Bluetooth to the receiver with a 3.5mm or 1/8 inch, if you're old school like me, output plug right there. Also, you will get a little pigtail that, in case this is too big for you to plug into something, you can actually extend it just a little tiny bit, which makes it lower profile. You'll also receive 2 micro USB to USB-A chargers, but you do not receive the cubes, which would be helpful, or something that you could plug both of these into to charge. And you receive the documentation. I almost forgot, it also comes with an 8-inch to 1/4 inch, or rather 3.5 to 6.5mm adapter. The headset itself is not exactly what I would call comfortable, and it slips around on your head a little bit if you're spastic with your head movements like I was. The only padding that there is on this entire microphone is right there, which kind of sits somewhere around the side of your temple. After wearing it for a few minutes, it started to hurt my jaw just a little bit, so be advised about that. The gooseneck itself is not what I would call strong. It moves with the slightest touch, but in all fairness, when I put it on my head and shook my head around, the microphone stayed relatively still. However, note that this gooseneck is quite long, therefore it sticks out very much in front of your face. And because this microphone is right here, that microphone is going to be susceptible to a lot of wind, and I suspect that with this little bitty bit of foam on there, it's not going to do very good at resisting plosives. On the side of this unit, there is a volume up and down along with the model number of this transmitting headset. On the side, there is a power mode DC 5-volt input for the micro USB charging, and 2 little LED lights which go either blue or orange, but blue means it's paired with the receiver. Despite being made out of plastic, the headset weighs a little bit more than I was expecting it to, and you don't feel it so much in your hands, but when you're wearing it, after a few minutes you do feel it on the side of your head. But despite that, the buttons on the side have a good tactile feeling to them. They make a pretty good sound. Unlike on the headset, on the receiver, you do have the brand name along with the model number right there. You also have a power, a pair, and the DC 5-volt micro USB port right there for you to plug this up. Just like on the other headset unit, you do also have LED lights as well. Now, that pair button right there is so that way you can pair the headset. It did a pretty quick job of pairing itself automatically. But the big question I have is, how is this UHF? If you have any questions about the functionality or operations of this wireless unit, you can always look in the user manual. But in all honesty, you'll probably find it to be about as useless as I did. If you speak English, then you have 1, 2, 3 pages you can read. But luckily, if you have some other secondary language like Dutch, French, Spanish, Italian, or Chinese, you're in luck because you will also have just as much useless information to read in those languages. Perhaps it's not fair of me to say that this user manual is useless, so let's give it a full and honest assessment, shall we? Okay. At the top, it says product introduction, and it goes into the headset and receiver and puts little numbers with lines to each and every button and light so you can figure out what they are. So for example, number 1, it says vol plus on the button itself. But if you don't know what that means, you can look down below and see that that means microphone volume regulation positive. Okay, so at the bottom, it says product characteristics. The receiver has built-in Bluetooth, transmits with digital modulation UHF frequency. The receiving and transmitting terminal adopts the unique identification technology. Multiple sets can be used simultaneously. The headset has built-in DSP sound effect processing function, and there are 3 unique modes of human voice. Despite my taking 3 breaths, or 2 breaths rather, that's all one sentence. Now, it does have a couple of commas in there, but it takes a couple of times to read for you to fully understand what they're saying. Now, it becomes fairly clear to me that the UHF that it's talking about and advertises with regards to being wireless is it actually kind of misleading in my opinion, because it is Bluetooth. Bluetooth operates at a frequency of 2.45 gigahertz, and the frequency range for UHF is 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz. So technically Bluetooth is within that UHF band. But UHF also covers transmitters like Zaxcom, Electrosonics, WheezyCom, Sennheiser. Those all transmit within that. So labeling it as a UHF microphone transmitter is a little misleading in my book, but I digress. Let's flip it on the inside. Look at technical parameter. Working band, UHF. Okay. Variable channels, 10. Okay. Distortion, less than 0.5% at watt SPL. It doesn't list that. Using distance, 10 meters. Okay. 2 things that remain very puzzling to me after reading the manual is that it seemed to indicate in one of the pictures that there is a speaker in the headset. That is not the case. And I have no idea if this is microline level out, so we'll have to figure that out too. It requires me putting the microphone directly in front of my mouth and turning the gain all the way up on my Sound Devices Mix Pre 6 in order to get a decent enough level out of it. It took me a while to figure this headset out, and I do want to share a few things with you. I'm currently recording on my Tascam DR40 right here in front of me. I'm going into it via the adapter so that it's plugged in 1/4 inch or 6.5 millimeters, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going in mic plus phantom power. On the fly, while recording, I'm going to switch the phantom power, and it still works. And I'm now going to switch to line level, and it still works. Although the level has dropped, but then so is the self noise. Inside the Amazon listing, there was a picture that seemed to indicate that this headset would be compatible with just about any kind of electronic device, provided that it accepted some sort of an input. But maybe recorders are not its forte, so let's try it at a different configuration. In this current configuration, I'm going out of the receiver into the speaker and then daisy chaining it out into the Tascam DR40 in order to record a line level signal with the gain all the way up. And most likely, because the volume is very low in my headphones, I'm going to have to further increase it in post. That's the amount right there. Now, you're listening to this raw and unprocessed, and one thing you're probably saying is, there's an echo in there, and you'd be exactly right. There's a mode button here on the side, and I'm going to press it, and you're going to hear how it gets even worse. I'm sounding like I'm inside of a concert hall for whatever reason, so I'm going to press it again. And there is the other setting that this naturally goes to. And this is not feedback from here. As a matter of fact, I could completely mute that, and that's the way this headphones sound, or the headset sounds rather. Now, this is the best possible setting. Now, to give you an idea, in the user manual, it says that the 3 modes are, and I repeat, exactly, and I read this exactly out of the manual, hosting, KTV, and stream mode. I don't understand what place in the world this amount of reverb has on any of these microphone settings. I'm going to go quiet for a second. I want you to listen to this. That's the sound of unclean modulation. It is as if this unit has a built-in expander or even a gate for a certain amount of noise in the background. And that's mostly modulation noise. So it's not at all clean either. As I suspected, the foam on the end of the microphone is not great at resisting the breath coming out of my mouth when I talk. So I have to do some kind of wonky things with this microphone gooseneck in order to get it out of the fire of my breath. And in doing so, it's going to go a little bit off axis, In all honesty, where it wants to be is right there. Now, this would be the very best possible level, but it's going to sound like complete garbage simply because it's actually too much of a proximity effect at that point. Backing it off a little bit, it's still just as much plosives, and that's at least a better level. But it's got to be boosted up a lot. This thing is not that sensitive despite what it says in the manual. I'm currently connected up via Bluetooth to my phone where I'm recording the audio you are hearing. And despite the fact that I hit the volume down button, which is supposed to adjust the microphone sensitivity, it is not changing my recording level at all on my phone. It's peaking the meters. So I don't even know what this is going to sound like in post. When I went into editing and I listened to the results that I recorded on my phone, it became clear to me. This headset should be used in Bluetooth mode and nothing else. But in all honesty, they need to just go back to the drawing board and fix the jack coming out of the receiver so you can actually use it. As for a wireless range test, I'm not even going to bother because the quality of this microphone is really low at close distances, so why would I even want to take this thing far away? Now, it is entirely possible that this one is a dud, and if that's the case, Tonor, please work on your quality assurance before you send out products. So what do I think of this little microphone? Well, despite the fact that it's made of almost entirely all plastic, it does weigh more than I expected it to. So by the time you couple on top of it a very uncomfortable headband and not enough padding, it does weigh awkwardly on your head. And I couldn't wear it past about 5 or 10 minutes, to be completely honest with you. I think the gooseneck is too long, and luckily it allows you to adjust it just pretty well, the microphone, so that way you can try to make it off-axis enough to not kill the microphone with plosives, because this little foam right here is not effective as wind protection when it's right in front of your mouth. So you can go off mic and allow your voice to completely drop down into the noise floor of the recording itself. Or your other option is take the microphone really close to your mouth, have the proximity effect engaged, get a relatively decent level out of it, and be killing it with every single plosive of words that don't even necessarily have plosives that you would think would affect a microphone. But those are your options there. Unless you're looking at using it exclusively in Bluetooth mode. And even then, I would not suggest buying this one because it's only a partially working unit. For the money, there are better options out there. As for the actual tech specs listed, I think it's somewhat misleading to say Bluetooth is UHF. And as a matter of fact, the receiver itself has a part on here, this little jack that sticks out is a little flimsy right there. It feels like it's going to break at any time. As for the user manual, it's either completely ineffective at telling you what you want to know, or it's completely obvious as to how something operates. And as for the specifications, they're not in any kind of a format that is even useful to you. Now, aside from that, the quality of the microphone, why do they feel the need to put echoes on there? It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. To me, this is not a microphone that needs to exist. I think they need to go back to the drawing board and redo this thing. There's potential there, but it's not there yet. So would I recommend this? No. You can go and look down in the description and find a link to see it on Amazon if you want to. Let me also add that while this product is not one that I'd recommend anybody, Tonor does make some products that are actually pretty good for the money. So don't let this completely shy you away from the brand. But thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Sound Speeds, and be sure to tune in the future for more product reviews and sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.